I always thought relationships were supposed to be about balance, lift each other up, share goals, build something together. But with my girlfriend, it started to feel like I was more of a stepping stone than a partner. The breaking point came one Tuesday afternoon when she texted me out of the blue. "I'm going to be an influencer. Support my dreams or get out." Now let me backtrack. When we first met, she was sweet, grounded, and fun. She had a small but growing following online, mostly posting outfits, skincare routines, and selfies. I figured it was a harmless hobby, but over time, that hobby turned into an obsession. Every dinner had to be photographed, every outing was staged, and every moment of intimacy became content. I didn't mind at first. I wanted her to succeed. I'd even hold the camera, take pictures, and help edit her posts. But then came the spending. Suddenly, every dollar we had was poured into clothes she only wore once. Expensive dinners she barely ate for the aesthetic, and trips she insisted were investments in her brand. The problem was, she wasn't funding any of this. I was. She had convinced me to add her to my credit card, just for emergencies, she said. Before long, those emergencies turned into $1,000 charges for luxury makeup and weekend getaways. So, when she sent that text telling me to either support her influencer dream or leave, it wasn't just dramatic, it was insulting. I had been supporting her this whole time, financially and emotionally, and now she was demanding more. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to fight. I texted back, "I'm following my dreams too." She didn't reply right away, probably too busy staging her next video. But I was already in motion. I pulled up my banking app, checked the transactions, and started making calls. I filed reports for fraud on every charge she had made on my card without explicit permission. Clothes, dinners, beauty, hauls, all of it. I knew this wasn't going to end quietly. She had built her influencer persona on a fragile image of glamour and abundance, and I had just pulled the rug out from under her. By the time she noticed, her so-called influence would be worth less than the empty promises she kept feeding me. And truthfully, I couldn't wait to see the look on her face when her little empire came crashing down. The first crack showed up the very next evening. She burst through the front door, shopping bags in hand, face red with fury. "What did you do to my card?" she snapped, dropping the bags on the floor. It kept getting declined. I had to beg the cashier to hold everything until I figured it out. I didn't even look up from the couch. "I didn't do anything to your card. But the one with my name on it?" "Yeah, I froze it," fraud claims. Banks handling the rest. Her jaw dropped. "Fraud. Are you insane? I'm your girlfriend. That's not fraud?" I finally met her eyes, calm as ever. "It is when you're running up charges without my consent. Remember that $1,000 purse? Or the spa day? You didn't even ask me. You just swiped like I was your personal ATM." She scoffed, folding her arms. "That was for content. It was an investment. You don't understand how this works. I need to look the part. I need to build the brand." I cut her off. "No, you need to live within your means. And newsflash, your brand has been funded by my paycheck, not your influence. It stops now." She stormed off to the bedroom, muttering about how I was ruining everything. A few hours later, I overheard her frantically on the phone. Apparently, she had promised a boutique clothing store that she'd promote their launch in exchange for free products. But with her accounts frozen and no new photos to post, she couldn't deliver. The panic in her voice was almost pitiful. Almost. Over the next few days, the dominoes fell. Sponsorship offers slowed to a trickle. Followers noticed the lack of glossy content, and her engagement dropped. I watched quietly as she tried to salvage her image, posting old recycled photos and captions about working on something big, but people weren't buying it. Comments started rolling in. "Didn't you wear this last month? Where's the new stuff?" Meanwhile, I was already moving forward with my own plans. I had always dreamed of starting my own small business. But then without her draining my resources, I finally had the freedom to focus on it. I opened a separate account, cut ties with the joint credit mess, and began laying the groundwork. She didn't notice she was too busy watching her so-called empire crumble. One night she came to me with tears in her eyes, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "Babe, you don't get it. I just need one more chance." If you could just cover a couple more shoots, I swear I can make this work. I stared at her for a long moment, then said the one thing she never expected. I already gave you every chance, and you wasted them. Her influence wasn't just slipping, it was gone. And soon she'd realize just how serious I was about chasing my dreams, not funding hers. By the third week, the desperation was impossible to ignore. She had gone from flashy hauls and over-the-top photo shoots to shaky iPhone clips in her bedroom. The captions turned from living my best life to manifesting better days. I almost felt bad for her. One morning, I walked into the kitchen to find her hunched over the counter, scrolling furiously through her phone. She didn't even glance up when I poured coffee. "Babe, listen," she said breathlessly. "If you just loan me a little money, I can book a professional shoot. My followers love lifestyle content, and if I get the engagement up again, brands will start reaching out." I leaned against the counter, sipping my coffee. "Loan you money? That's rich. What exactly are you planning to pay me back with, likes hashtags?" Her lips tightened. "You're being cruel. I'm trying to build something. You should want to see me succeed." I shrugged. I did. For months. But you weren't building, you were spending. Now you're broke and blaming me because the bank cut you off. She slammed her phone down, tears welling in her eyes. "You don't understand what it's like to have a dream, to know you're meant for more than just some boring job." That stung, but not for the reason she thought. I had a dream too. I just didn't need to bankrupt anyone else to pursue it. Later that week, her followers noticed the shift. She had always presented herself as glamorous, always ahead of the curve. Now, with no new outfits, no lavish backdrops, and no expensive props, the facade cracked. Comments piled up. "This feels fake, are you okay?" And the worst unfollowed. "You're boring now." Her follower count dropped daily, thousands vanishing like sand through her fingers. At home, the silence grew louder. She avoided me, spending hours locked in the bedroom filming desperate TikToks about fake friends and unsupportive partners, thinly veiled, of course, but I knew who those rants were aimed at. What she didn't know was that while she spiraled, I was quietly thriving. I'd launched my side business, nothing flashy, just a simple online store I'd dreamed about for years. Sales were modest, but real. Like her influence, I didn't have to fake success. One night after another failed livestream, where less than a dozen people tuned in, she came to me sobbing. "Please," she whispered, clutching my arm. "I'll do better. I'll cut back. I'll save. I just need you on my side again." I looked at her, and for a split second, I saw the girl I had first met, the one who laughed at dumb movies and talked about traveling someday. But that girl was buried under layers of entitlement and fake followers. "I can't save you from yourself," I said quietly. "Not anymore." Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I think she realized her empire wasn't just crumbling, it was already gone. The breaking point came one Saturday afternoon. I was in the garage working on some inventory for my store when I heard her shrieking into the phone. Curiosity pulled me inside. She was pacing the living room, tears streaking her makeup, ranting at someone on speaker. "They're lying. I didn't scam anyone. Those clothes were mine to promote," she shouted. The voice on the other end was calm, clipped, professional, clearly from one of the brands she had once courted. They were accusing her of misusing products, of promising promotions she never delivered. Worst of all, of inflating her engagement with fake followers. When the call ended, she collapsed onto the couch, trembling. "They're blacklisting me," she whispered, staring at the floor. "No one's going to work with me now." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "That's what happens when your whole empire is built on smoke and mirrors." Her head snapped up. "This is your fault. You sabotaged me. If you hadn't frozen the card, I'd have new content, new outfits, everything. You ruined my career." I almost laughed. "What career?" "Buying things with money you don't have and pretending it's a lifestyle. That's not a career, it's cosplay." Her hands balled into fists. She grabbed her phone, hit record, and started filming right there on the couch. Between hiccuping sobs, she launched into a long-winded monologue about betrayal, toxic partners, and how she had been held back from her dreams. But here's the thing about pretending to be authentic online: people can smell the lies. Within hours, her video was flooded with comments from her own followers, calling her out. Some had receipts, screenshots of her bragging about maxing out my card or manipulating friends into gifting her things for clout. She tried deleting comments, but the damage spread faster than she could control. Other small creators started stitching her video, exposing her behavior. What she thought would be a pity party turned into a public unraveling. I stayed quiet. I didn't need to say a word. Her own actions were catching up to her. That night, she cornered me in the kitchen, eyes wild. You have to help me fix this. Just say you're lying about the fraud thing. Tell people you exaggerated. If you stand by me, they'll believe me. I stared at her, incredulous. So you want me to destroy my credit, my integrity, just to patch up your failing image? Absolutely not. She broke then, slamming her fists against the counter. You don't get it. If I lose this, I have nothing. No backup plan, no job. This was supposed to be my future. And that's when the truth hit me. She hadn't just been playing at being an influencer. She had gambled everything on it, without a thought for what would happen if it all collapsed. Now it was collapsing in real time, and I had no intention of being her safety net this time. The days that followed were like watching a slow-motion train wreck. She spent hours glued to her phone, posting tearful apologies one minute and defensive rants the next. Her followers, once loyal, weren't buying any of it. Screenshots of her contradictions were spreading faster than her videos. I'd pass by the bedroom door and hear her sobbing between recordings. At first, it was almost hard to witness someone I once loved unraveling. But then I remembered all the nights I stayed up worrying about bills while she ordered another luxury. Sympathy only went so far. She started losing sponsors officially. Emails came in cutting ties, stating bluntly that they couldn't be associated with her brand. I knew because she stormed into the kitchen, slamming her laptop on the counter and screaming at the screen. They can't just drop me like this. I was their best ambassador. I stayed calm. No, you were their most expensive mistake. Her eyes burned with fury, but she didn't argue, maybe because she knew I was right. By midweek, she tried a new tactic, blaming me outright. She went live, telling anyone who would listen that her toxic ex had sabotaged her career out of jealousy. She painted me as controlling, insecure, even abusive. But the live backfired spectacularly when viewers asked for proof. Instead of sympathy, she got roasted. People brought up old receipts and called her out for playing the victim. Her credibility hit zero. That night, I found her curled up on the couch, mascara smeared, phone abandoned beside her. They hate me, she whispered hoarsely. Everyone hates me. I sat in the armchair across from her, deliberately creating space. They don't hate you, I said. They just see the truth now. Dan, and you can't spin it anymore. She shook her head violently. No, I can fix this. I just need one viral moment, one collab, something big. If you would just back me up. Help me. I cut her off. Sharper this time. You're not hearing me. I'm done funding your fantasy. I'm done being your scapegoat. You asked me to support your dreams, but all you did was drain mine. Her lip trembled, and for once, she didn't have a comeback. The final blow came 2 days later. The bank's fraud department ruled in my favor. Every disputed charge was reversed. Thousands of dollars in her purchases were clawed back, and the accounts she had used were flagged. She woke up to overdraft notices and frantic calls from collection departments. I watched her crumble as she read the emails. She looked at me hollow-eyed. So that's it? You've ruined me? I stood, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. No, I said calmly. You ruined yourself. I just stopped paying for the show. And for the first time in months, I felt free. I thought that would be the end of it. She was broke, exposed, and blacklisted. But people like her don't let go easily. A week later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, she stood, their hair messy, eyes swollen from crying, a shadow of the girl who once strutted around in designer heels. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Can we just talk? I leaned against the doorframe unmoved. About what? How I should take you back after you used me? Or how I should fund your second shot at fame? Her chin trembled. No, about us. About fixing this. I know I messed up, but I can change. I'll get a real job. I'll pay you back. There was a time when those words would have pulled me in. A time when I would have seen the tears, the vulnerability, and believed she meant it. But all I could think about was how many times she'd promised to change before and how every promise had been just another performance. I shook my head. You don't want me. You want a reset button, but life doesn't work that way. Yeah. You burned every bridge you had, including mine. Her eyes filled again, desperation clawing at her tone. I can't do this without you, I sighed, stepping back. You'll have to, because I'm finally doing what you never let me do, following my own dreams. And with that, I closed the door. For the first time in months, maybe years, my life was quiet. No staged photos, no forced content, no financial black hole sucking me dry. Just me, my work, and the small but real satisfaction of building something that actually mattered. She tried reaching out after that email's blocked numbers, even messages through mutual friends, but I didn't respond. I'd given her every chance, and she had shown me who she really was. I wasn't about to let her script me into her next act of manufactured drama. My business started growing slowly, but steadily. Each sale felt like a step toward freedom, like proof that the time and money I'd wasted on her could finally be put to better use. And the best part? I didn't need thousands of strangers' validation to feel successful. Looking back, the irony isn't lost on me. She wanted to be an influencer so badly that she destroyed everything real in her life for a handful of likes. And in the end, her influence amounted to nothing. Me, I didn't just walk away. I walked into a future where my dreams weren't tied to someone else's delusion. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Influence means nothing without integrity. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.